Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's late night happy hour here on ESPN Los Angeles. Brian Kamenetzky that's me right there, and that's Andy Kamenetzky. And joining us in the middle tonight, hold on a second. Hold on, I got to get our branding up. There we go. Joining
That's
us
more important than anything else.
Sorry, Jordan, but we got to pay bills. Jourdan Rodrigue, the very new beat writer for The Athletic, LA, covering the Rams. She has done outstanding work in Carolina, covering the Panthers, which we want to get into, obviously, with Cam Newton in the news, going to Tampa Bay, Tom went to Tampa Bay. He goes to New England.
That's another separate elite quarterback.
Another thing.
Separate elite quarterback.
Tom Brady, who took some PPP money. I guess things aren't going so well at TB12.
Was my eye roll too large? Was my eye roll oof? Yeah.
I mean, it is a business. It is a business with fewer than 500 people, whatever's the qualification. Assuming you consider it a business, I mean, I think it qualifies by letter of the law more for PPP than it actually qualifies as a business.
Here's my question, though. This is now we're going to get into what is life concepts, right?
Let's do it.
We've got the whole hour. You might as well.
Do you qualify for PPP if you are a method? For example, if you are not a business, it's a method, right? So if you're a lifestyle, technically.
TB12?
If you are a method, it's a TB12 method, right? So the name is copyright.
It is.
But the method is so the method is receiving the PPP.
It's a little culty, I'll say that.
I mean, I guess, if you look at other cults around the country, have they qualified for PPP?
That's where we need to start. We're blowing this thing wide open.
Right. You take a look, and we don't necessarily have to name all the cults. I think we know who they all are. But have any of them, for example, I don't know, one in Hollywood, has it received any money? Let you all figure out that one on your own.
I don't know. I wonder, what if they paid him, but he had to eat strawberries? What if it came with those kinds of strings? Do you think Tom would have done it? Why not just ask his wife for the money? He's got the money.
Or if he had to drink less than 6,000 gallons of water a day, do we think that...
This is one of the things that I found really amazing because, Tom Brady has, he got busted at the park doing workouts in Tampa. And then he's been essentially thumbing his nose at the NFL's, requests in terms of no group workouts. He's been doing things that they haven't wanted him to do, because of COVID prevention. And that hasn't scared him off. Tom Brady is more cautious around strawberries and tomatoes than COVID. He's much more frightened by nightshades than he is the threat of COVID, which is really bizarre.
Or mildly uncomfortable dehydration.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's also very possible.
I don't get it.
And this is not reported out. I don't know any. I don't Jordan,
we don't do reports.
We don't do that. That's not really what we do. We just sort of speculate and then
it's
invite people. Right. We invite people like you on to do tell us things. It's possible, given his personality and what we know about Tom Brady, that he thinks he's not actually capable of getting COVID. Am I wrong about that? He has sort of engineered his body to a point
COVID
where
is
he
also
is sort
a
of
mentality.
Right.
It's a way.
I just moved, and so I am looking at all kinds of things online right now, right? And sometimes when I think about Tom Brady, I think that he maybe considers himself to be a Roomba vacuum. In the sense that
we have a Eufy, by the way.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Just circle up with me here. So he will perform his tasks and he does exactly what he needs to do, and it's very precise. And then he goes back to his charging port and he just shuts himself down from the world, and then he's good.
Does he ever get stuck under my couch?
And he's impervious to normal things that other vacuums have to deal with, like filter changes, etc.
It's possible.
And he's just, that's as I peruse, what I need for my new apartment out here, that has nothing in it, by the way.
So what's there for the robot to do at this point? There's nothing for it to pick up if you don't have any
Well,
stuff.
that's exactly right. I mean, the robot vacuum has Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski back in the mix.
Right.
What is there really for the Roomba vacuum to do at this point, really?
I don't know. Well, you start by not throwing 34 interceptions or whatever it was last year.
Sure.
But like I can't decide if, and it's a little bit like Cam going to New England fits this as well. I can't decide if Tom Brady is like good anymore. Like he wasn't very good last year, but that team wasn't very good. Like maybe he's just at a point where he can't elevate bad talent, bad wide receiver talent, decent running backs, whatever. But maybe he's just at that point in his career where he can't do it. But you put him down with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Gronk and Brate's still there. They got dudes. They got plenty of dudes down there, and he'll be fine. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, and I think people who have been in the league as long as Tom Brady has been kind of know that. They start to see, all right, at what point do I go somewhere that will kind of cover the scars in a way, that will kind of brush over sort of the bumps and the warts and the things that maybe he's not doing at such a high level anymore. Other guys around him can pick up the slack a little bit more. And in terms of the receivers room in Tampa, oh my goodness. I mean, you can't really go to a better place than that, really. And then you get to work with Bruce Arians. Like, you can't really go to a better place than that, honestly, especially if you're sort of like 1 foot in the retirement home Tom Brady. Although, allegedly 60,000 gallons of water a day, and he will be playing till he's 60. But, you cannot go to a better place than that. And you don't have to pay taxes.
Well, and as we established at the beginning,
but you are in Florida.
Sure.
Florida is, even when it's not in the middle of an outbreak, Florida is the worst of. I've said this before. I will say it again, and I will say it even with more conviction in the times that we're in. Florida is the worst real state in America. There are worse places in Florida, but of all the real states, the ones that actually kind of matter, that aren't like filler in the U.S. Pac-12 conference, where there are 8 teams in every conference that are there just so you can have 12 teams. That's like half the states in the union. Florida's not one of those. Florida matters, and it's the worst of all the states. So,
you know what I really appreciated? I liked his photo where he was like wearing the orange shirt and it was like sweaty and it was like, you have to earn the dark orange. And I was like, man, that's a walk to Publix. Like, what are you doing?
All you did was leave your house.
All you did was step outside.
Well, he also too, like he had. I saw another Instagram photo up from one of his workouts, and again, these are one of the discouraged workouts that the NFL has made very clear. We would prefer you not do this, and certainly not organize these workouts. And there was just a quote that said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." I'm like, no, we also have COVID to fear. Like,
that's scary.
Like, there's actually things to fear. I'm not saying we should all shrink inside our homes and like never leave the room we're in, but like you don't have to cower to COVID to actually be fearful of it. Like, the situation in and of itself is fearful, and there's no reason to post that particular quote unless you're making a statement about having these workouts during the age of COVID. Like, I mean, unless he's trying to reassure people, hey, I know I'm living in a new environment in Tampa, but I'm not scared, which, feels like a little much. Like, it's just, we were talking before, like, he has a way, like a method, that's what TB12 is. There is kind of a cult of personality at this point that exists with Tom Brady, which is weird because he actually offers very little in the way of personality.
He's a robot vacuum.
Right. But he's kind of this bland cult of personality, which I guess you really can't pull off unless you're arguably the greatest to ever play your sport, and had this type of success and good looking as him and whatever. But he is this very
handsome.
Oh, he's dreamy. There's no way around it. He gets. Frankly,
wait till the hair catches the Florida humidity. I don't want to hear it. Like,
you know what? He can just cut it short. I mean, he's immune to that sort of thing. The handsomeness will travel. I'm just not sure the game will. Boom. How about that for a quotable?
That's, you know what? You should
I'm gonna
put
write that
on
down.
Instagram.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hot
the
takery.
interesting thing you mentioned too is like sort of how he's like this personality where it's almost like he seems like he thinks he floats above the rest of the noise of what's happening, whether it's the league or the world. Obviously, like some pretty tone deaf situations in the past, and like with this, I honestly, I'll be quite frank with you guys. Like I was kind of disappointed because I feel like at the very least, if you're going to go out and do a workout like that and you have the platform you have, what is hurting you? What is the harm in putting on a face covering?
Yeah.
Like you could literally get one with Gronk's face on it. Like Gronk, you could have so much fun with it.
He's got 20 of them.
Yeah. You could have so much fun with it. And think about in a state where, and you know, I know we're a little bit lighthearted, but really guys, like in a state where cases are spiking to that level and where people are afraid and don't know what to do and are not receiving any sort of leadership, why not the newest superstar just go and literally it's the easiest thing in the world. You could get someone to pay you the PPP money that you got to wear the mask. Like,
but you know, again, that kind of reinforces
your masks become a write-off.
You're right.
Right.
But it doesn't.
Once you put Gronk's face on them, they're a write-off.
and a collector's item. But doesn't
you go with like Evans's face, Godwin's face, Arians' face. Like, get all the faces of your new teammates and Gronk.
You could get you could have you could have him sign one washed first.
Yes.
You could have him sign one. I mean, it's all these different opportunities that you could do to also sort of subtly remind people what their social responsibility is right now. And it didn't happen.
I'm telling you, I think that all of what we're talking about right now reinforces my basic point that Tom Brady may think he's actually not able to get coronavirus.
Robot vacuum.
That's what I'm saying. Speaking of robots, it's very possible if you call the fine people at vsliquor.com that a robot might deliver your liquor to your door. First order 15% off if you type sports.
Wow.
Have you ever seen
You
those?
are making promises that VS Liquor may not be able to pull off.
I just said it's possible. Someone will deliver your liquor.
Right, but raising the possibility of a liquor delivering robot to your house, Brian?
No.
I don't know if VS Liquor appreciates that.
Have you seen those?
It might be Tom Brady.
But like,
now,
you guys have seen
that would be something.
You guys have seen those robots that like go down the street that are like little delivery Amazon delivery robots. Why can't one of those bring my VS Liquor order?
If Tom Brady delivers your liquor and you know it's Tom Brady, do you tip him?
Yes.
Because I mean, he's got a lot of money, and he just got PPP money.
I was going to say not that much.
Are you tipping Tom Brady on top of it?
Yes.
Or is it just, look, that's his gig. He's a liquor delivery guy.
I tip the delivery guy just because the delivery guy happens to be
I do too.
rich.
I do too. But it's Tom Brady.
Yeah. See, that's a tough question. I think that's one of those like philosophical, they're going to be teaching this in colleges question.
I'll put it out on a poll.
That doesn't sound like a very hard course.
Would you like us to tag you in this poll?
I'm good.
The option.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Yeah, it's bad enough I'm here. Hey, question though. The other half of this thing, because the guy who replaced Tom Brady, who, by the way, who's the third receiver in New England? They got a good one, or not New England, in Tampa. They got a good one there too. I forget who it is. They have like a third person now.
Evans, Godwin.
Who's the number 3? I forget. It doesn't matter. Point being, the offense there is stacked.
Yeah.
Cam Newton picked like the worst offseason ever to be a free agent. Coming off, he's not healthy. There's pandemic.
He didn't pick it. I'd like to point out.
That's true.
He did not pick it. He had a year left on the deal.
Yeah. So it was thrust upon him, but it was bad timing either way. How good is he? Because I love the idea of him getting revenge on the league, and like the first day he signs in New England, and the radio people, they're already doing the anti-Cam celebrations. It's like, shut the bleep up. So I really am rooting for the guy and his hats and all that. But how good is he at this point? You would know better than anybody.
Yeah. So after covering the guy for years and years and watching, especially Cam Newton when healthy, which I believe he is, and when he's firing on all cylinders and when he's kind of got that chip on his shoulder, that whole I've been overlooked, I've been disrespected, which that's a whole saga in Carolina of how he was let go and what his whole week of getting cut was like, and them trying and failing to manufacture a trade market for him, and then signing his replacement as he was still on the roster, like all of these things that happened, right? And so of course, and you see it in his Instagram posts and everything as he's doing his workouts, that like, yes, he is so motivated, right? So I was texting with a couple of league people, and I was like, like if I'm an opposing defensive coordinator, I just don't even want to show up. Like Cam Newton paired with Josh McDaniels, that is like an electrifying, like, please, for the love of God, everybody wear a mask so we can see what happens. Like,
yes. Yes.
Like, that is just the coolest. That's just the coolest thing. I mean, like he still got it. And really what I think the Patriots do very well is they set people up for success within whatever, skill set they have around the quarterback. They set the quarterback up for success. And they don't just do it with someone who literally just kind of stands there like Tom Brady does. Josh McDaniels can also do this using run pass, lots of play action, doing a lot of the things that Cam does well without falling prey to what happened in Carolina, where they were putting him consistently in harm's way. And so I think that is so exciting to think about. This late in his career, something that he could revolutionize in a way, and kind of be back to being that electrifying player, but not having to do all of it by himself, not having to have a different starting left tackle since 2013, season over season. Like, let that sink in. Like, real 831 quick, hits.
We're not football beat guys. We've been around the sport a little bit, but left tackle's important, right? That's one of the ones that matters.
If I'll say this, here's the caveat: if you are right-handed, yes.
Fair.
And I, again, don't know everything about everything, but I think he is, right?
He is. That is very good. Yes,
he's quite right-handed. Yes.
Sources.
Yeah. Sources close to the hand say, yes.
But like, okay, so two things I love about this. The first one is, as much as everybody wants to hate Bill Belichick, this does reinforce one of the things that's cool about him, which is he's not one of these, like, we're going to put on our football helmets and get out there and play the football. Wouldn't care. Like, he signed Randy Moss. He signed, Cam Newton, who for reasons...
Corey Dillon during periods where he was considered a locker room problem.
And Cam Newton is the least controversial of all these people if you actually break down what he's doing and all that. But, like, Bill Belichick doesn't give a bleep about that stuff. And so I like that about him. He's actually very flexible in how he runs a team, and every year it's slightly different. But with that receiving core and in that offense, even with all the motivation that he has, is that going to be enough to make Cam look good?
I will counter your question with an anecdote. Okay, so 2 years ago, they go to the wild card game. Cam's shoulder is hanging on by a thread at that point. He is about to have off-season surgery, a clean-out procedure. They went to the wild card game and competed with checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey, using a receiving core that, and no offense to them, they were all very nice guys, but a receiving core that Good Morning Football put in consecutive names on a T-shirt as if it were a law firm, like Duncan and Duncan law firm, because nobody knew who they were. That was
like, who were they?
Level.
Like, literally,
it
who
was.
were...
Oh man, now I have to go back. And think.
You should have bought one of those shirts.
I know I should have had the shirt, but it was like guys who were like your number 4, your practice squad guy who got signed that week.
Oh wow! So it's like that far down the roster.
Really, like Mose Frazier, who was there and competed like in training camp every year, right? Guys who just really, undrafted free agents, guys who were really far down. And then, you have Christian McCaffrey, who's, they both like orchestrated this near comeback against New Orleans, and it was amazing. But anyway, he's doing that like nearly consistently. He had Greg Olsen during the Super Bowl run. It's pretty much it. Jericho Cotchery,
right.
No, but like other than that, like he had Greg Olsen. That's it. And so I think that if you give him literally just a guy moving down the field in a good offense, and you give him more than a half a second to get the ball out of his hands, I think he's going to do some pretty remarkable things. I think it's going to be, I'm excited for it. And honestly, like I get to watch it and I don't have to pick apart everything. Like I can watch it and enjoy Cam Newton as like this electric, unprecedented player who has changed so many things about the way defenses even draft. They even, it's just crazy. I mean, I could go on for hours, but I won't. So.
Do you get a sense of where he actually is physically at this point?
Yeah, pretty healthy because, the worry, people like to project because, again, all of this noise is happening around him as the year continues in Carolina because he has the Liz Frank, right? And so that's such a vague injury that it's so convenient for other teams to sort of make his potential trade market murky. And the new owner was like very clear without being super clear that he was cleaning house that year and Ron Rivera gets fired. And then you're like, okay, Cam Newton's probably leaving. And after Ron Rivera gets fired, Cam finally makes the decision to have surgery on the Liz Frank, right? And he goes to a doctor who does not work for the team and is not affiliated with the team. He goes to his own doctor in Atlanta so he can control his own medical records because he is starting to see the writing on the wall. He's not going to be on the team and he needs to show his medical records to other teams, right?
Right.
So, and I'm like sweating.
No, but this is fascinating. Because I already have like 6 more questions. So keep going.
This is great. Well, we're all awake, so it's fine. I have no furniture. I don't even have a bed. It's okay. So it's good.
You're sleeping on the floor?
Sweat away and tell us more.
So he is starting to see the writing on the wall. Meanwhile, behind the scenes and through the combine, the team is trying to manufacture a trade market for him. The main concern, because the surgery of a Liz Frank, once you have surgery on that ambiguous of an injury, the surgery would put you out for the season. You have no chance.
Can you explain to people really quick what that is, what the injury actually is?
Okay, so a Liz
by
Frank
people,
injury.
We mean us.
Okay,
yes.
I got you guys.
I keep all I've been thinking to myself is who's Liz Frank?
Who's Liz Frank?
It's like, is that his agent, like or his publicist? I don't. Why is she having surgery?
She must just be awful.
Is she okay?
Like, what does her surgery have to do with Cam's trade value, positive or negative? I don't understand.
But it finishes with a C, so it would be more like Liz Frank, I believe.
Yeah, it's the sister of Lisa Frank, who designed all those cool notebooks that you guys probably have never seen because I was once a teenage
Remember the
girl.
designer?
The
Paul
guy
Frank
with
was really cool.
the monkey. That's right.
Yeah, he was super cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I was like 2 when that came out.
Thanks, Jordan.
It's been great having you.
Enjoy your empty apartment.
If you weren't telling such a good story, I would take this opportunity to show you what we do to people who are mean to us. We replace their photo in the center with pictures of other people.
There's Byron Scott.
That's Byron Scott, who's a basketball player who's also before your time. We could do this one. You'll like this one. This is, no. Let's see. Too hard. We'll put you back in the middle, but let that be a lesson to you.
I've learned my lesson, guys. Thank you.
Tell us more about
Liz Frank. We play God
Frank.
with this show, Jordan.
Okay, so a Liz Frank injury, it's essentially a fracture in either ligaments or bones in your foot. And so really what happens is if you have ligament damage, usually you can heal without rehab, or you can heal without surgery through rehab. If you have bone damage or any sort of crack in the bone itself, then you have to get a surgery usually. It usually won't heal by itself. Sometimes it will, but usually it won't. Okay, so if you get the surgery, it's a semi-permanent fix. You don't have an issue with it again for the rest of your career. It also takes so long to heal from. So, but the point of having the surgery, particularly after Ron Rivera got fired, because before, by rehabbing and leaving things ambiguous, Cam was holding more cards in his hands. because knowing that all of these trade rumors and everything are swirling around, he can sit there and say, well, like I'm rehabbing, it's not that serious. But after Ron gets fired, the writing's a little bit on the wall that this owner is cleaning house completely. And so he's like, I'm going to have surgery, which puts a permanent marker on the exact day when he will be fully healed and he's going to be fine. It's a semi-permanent fix, so he'll be fine. The other part of that is the year that he's off, the real concern from other teams in sort of investigating whether he's a viable candidate for them to bring in is the shoulder. And because he had to have a clean out procedure, there was some worry after the initial, he had the partial rotator cuff tear surgery to repair, and then had to have a consecutive clean out. So there was worry that there would be some arthritic tissue, right? Now a shoulder
I'll take
is
your word
this
for it.
thing
Sure.
right here that you use. This is what a shoulder is. I don't know if we're like just making sure you guys are
Okay.
getting...
Now that was all right. That was, you don't have to insult us. I mean, we're willing to play ball a little bit here. We went to college, for God's sakes. We know what a shoulder is.
I mean, last I checked, nobody's calling you Dr. Rodrigue. So settle down, all right? I mean, it's not like you didn't perform the surgery. So
I need to calm down. I went to Arizona State. I really need to calm down.
Hey, that's where Byron Scott went.
That's right.
Byron just got his degree. It was really cool. After 37 years, he finished up. He posted a hashtag Forks Up.
I love it. Go Devils. Go Byron Scott.
There you go. You don't know who he is.
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sun Devil, Byron Scott.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Nope. You answered with the clue in the question. What did he do for a living?
Played basketball.
For
the team in green.
Oh, that was quite possibly the least endearing answer that you could give on an LA show.
I know.
He played with Showtime.
Showtime Lakers, who hated the who?
The Suns, I know.
No.
No. Well, actually,
yes,
they didn't like the Suns.
But
they did not like the Suns.
I thought you guys were trying to insult my Arizona.
Who's the team in green that the Showtime Lakers and all Lakers hate?
The Celtics.
Yes.
Oh,
so
there
you just
go.
call them the team. Yeah, okay. But anyway, back to your anatomy lesson where you don't think we understand.
Well, I definitely think you guys understand,
We don't understand, but it's okay.
Okay, but the point is now he's holding more power, right? But they're still trying to manufacture a trade. The point though is that all these teams they weren't biting on any potential talk of a trade because they're still concerned about the shoulder. And then after the combine, where all of these conversations start happening, the pandemic hits. So he can't go take a physical for any other team because they waited to cut him, even though they knew they were going to cut him, or that was one of their most viable options, was cutting him and then bringing in somebody new. This case, Teddy Bridgewater, who has a great relationship with the new offensive coordinator. Again, he got really screwed over by the pandemic. The fact that he was also they waited so long to just release him. And he had, a very solid date for when he's coming back. Now, the point with the shoulder, and this comes back to your original question about, is he healthy? He had an entire year to rest the shoulder. And so that's the key here, because he has never had that light of a workload since he was 7. Think about this guy's career. Since he was 7 years old, he has never had this light of a workload on specifically his throwing arm in his life. And so now he's pissed off, as understandably so. He's healthy. He's got some sort of plate in his foot, so he's fine there. And his shoulder's doing fine, and he's in the best shape of his life. And then you pair him with Josh McDaniels. And so basically, some of these teams are probably oh my God, I hope we don't have a season, So it's interesting.
Right, I'm going to use this as a transition for two things. The first thing I'm going to transition to is another mention of vsliquor.com, where because things are tough out there, you want your liquor delivered to your door. Don't be going outside if you don't need to. VS Liquor, 15% off your... Have you ordered from vsliquor.com yet, Jordan? You are old enough to drink, right?
I am, yes.
Okay, that was a little crack at your age. But after you called us old
That's a
people.
little much.
Well, she called us olds, Andy.
That was aggressive.
I'm still.
I really want to react to what you just said, but my computer screen froze. So.
Oh. Okay. And 50% off your first order if you haven't done it yet, Jordan. They'll deliver it right to your door, and then it'll give you a reason to buy like a liquor cabinet. So.
Second piece of furniture after this chair.
Nice.
Are you sleeping on the floor?
I have an air mattress. It's fine.
Okay.
I just drove across the country, guys. It's okay. Like,
Did you stop?
I had to pack light.
What is that like to drive across the country in a pandemic with a dog?
Well, I don't recommend it, first and foremost.
It's very I Am Legend.
It was really, well,
It really is. Like, that was a pandemic. He had his dog. Like,
yeah, but please, I mean, something bad happens to the dog. Okay, so I don't want to. Let's not go down this road. No spoilers.
Well, but you guys made it. You guys made it. It's okay.
We did make
You're right.
it.
You are
And,
correct. But
you know, it was interesting because I was really nervous, obviously about COVID, and I was driving straight across, mostly on the 40 the whole way, and was worried. This is a 37-hour drive. I was worried about the pandemic, gas stations, public bathrooms, rest stops, hotels, things like that. So I was so nervous that it spiked my adrenaline up really high. And I ended up driving 18 hours the first day.
Wow.
And then I slept in my car for 2 hours. And then I drove 12 more hours. So
That really is like pandemic style road tripping. Like, did you have a shotgun or something? Because that's how you do it in the zombie apocalypse. You sleep in your car with a shotgun, and you just go.
I had 2 tubes of mace, and they were really cute. They're teal.
oh, that's adorable.
And you had this guy defending you.
I know, and like, look at him. He does not look like.
That is a face, man.
I mean, that's his face. That's his face when we finally stopped, and he was like, "Are we done?"
Look at that face.
So that's Tucker, my dog, and he was such a champ. Like, he looks so precious, right? Well, he has this real deep, gravelly voice, and so when I was sleeping in my car, he slept the entire time I was driving, right? And I'm in Arkansas at a Love's, and which is like a sentence I never thought I would say in my life. But I'm in Arkansas at a Love's truck stop, and I'm parked on the side, and I'm like starting to tip the seat back and crack one of the windows. And all of a sudden Tucker decides, like, okay, this is when I start my watch, right? So he sits straight up in his seat, and he's like just scanning the whole time. And I start to doze off, and he's just still up, and he's just scanning and scanning and scanning. Well, I start to doze off like 20 minutes later, and all of a sudden he explodes in the back seat, just growling and barking and snarling. I never heard these sounds come out of him. I mean, look at him. I mean, he's just like this little creature, right? And he's just like, look at him. He looks like Dobby the himself. Like, he's just like this little, you know. And
Somebody give him a sock.
And he's just like snarling and growling. Well, I'm like, I wake up, I like grab both canisters of mace.
Ready to go.
Like, I'm ready. I haven't even tested them out yet, and I'm ready, and they might be pointing backwards, but I'm ready to go. And I look back, and Tucker is losing his mind at some poor guy who is walking his dog across the parking lot, like 50 feet away, nowhere close to where we are. Like, the fact that this poor man is like, I'm also driving across the country. I need to let my dog out for a minute. Tucker decides that this is his act of protection, that he is going to lose his mind at this poor guy walking his little tiny dog across the parking lot at 3:30 in the morning.
That's what they do, though, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, dogs get protective. Like, we have a tiny dog. Yeah, we have it's a Chihuahua Dachshund mix, and you know this dog is not even. There's Matilli. There's Matilli. And clearly that is not a threatening dog, but that dog will get protective of us, whether on walks. Like, that's a much more threatening dog.
That's a more threatening dog? Really?
Compared to the other dog?
I guess that's true. Granted, Matilli...
compared to Matilli?
In the jacket, Matilli certainly doesn't project a
Matilli's 12 pounds.
12 pounds of fierce.
How big's Tucker?
Oh, he's about 40 pounds.
Yeah, like come on.
Yeah.
40 pounds is an intimidating dog.
Most of it's hair, I would say.
But
though.
still, I mean, like as long as it doesn't do the eyes while it's protecting, that's going to be an intimidating dog to a stranger. It is.
Yeah. And the voice, the thing that I appreciate is like I didn't know he had it in him. So I was like, all right, I feel better about sleeping, and then I wake up in a panic. 2 hours later.
Right, he's doing that. It's he's waking people up, he's scaring you, whatever. But would you rather that than you wake up and he's just sleeping over there while the zombies surround the car?
Yeah. Someone is in my car, right. And Tucker's just like, okay, this is happening. Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah, it was good, but it was grueling. I did not realize, I was actually really proud of myself for doing it because I've never driven that far before. And it was, obviously not in unprecedented times. I had tons of packs of masks, and I was really proud of myself because I stopped for gas in Flagstaff, and there was a mask mandate, and this group of bikers, they were trying to go in and use the facilities, but they couldn't go in. And so I walk up like I have a pack of gum at recess, and I'm like, I have all these masks. Would you guys like some?
You're like Johnny Appleseed.
I was like, it's like the kid at recess with the gum. Like you always be the kid with gum, right? And so I was like, that was my good deed for the day. They didn't have masks. They weren't prepared, and so I helped. Did
you shame them at all for not wearing their masks?
I basically was like, I have so many. They're super cheap.
And I have a conscience, so. Here you are. Like here you go.
Look, I'm a traveler too.
And since I decided not to be part of the problem, here's the masks. No judgment.
God, that must have been really stopping in Arizona. Like I understand we have a COVID problem in California, and we're doing kind of doing our best and whatever. But I feel like we've been, generally speaking, we've been taking it fairly seriously in California for a while. There are a lot of people. It doesn't take that many people to ignore it to really make things problematic. And there's got a lot of folks in California. Arizona is not that like that. I'm not sure I would have been comfortable stopping. I think I might have just had to go all the way through.
It was interesting because part of the reason I stopped in Flagstaff is because the county that it's in had the lowest number of cases. So the route, the shorter way would have taken me down into onto the 101. But instead, I just kept taking the 40, and I went actually up and over and through the high desert for quite some time because I didn't want to risk it because Maricopa County, which is where Phoenix is, it's just absolutely blowing up in terms of cases. And I was like, okay, I'm this close. Like, I'm so close. It's just I'm not risking this. And so right now, actually, I'm incubating, which is part of the reason why I don't have any furniture, because I don't want to put other people at risk. So I'm in my place, and it's really cool because my neighbors, they do this live music thing on Wednesdays, and I'm the really weird kid who's up sitting in my patio 500 feet away, peeking over, listening to the music. and they're like, come on down. And I was like,
I can't. I drove through Arizona. I can't.
Arizona.
Texas and Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
And
what were you going on a tour? Jeez.
It was a long drive. How many places
can I pick it up? Did you hold your breath the entire way? All right, quick update of the poll. If you ordered from a delivery service and it turned out Tom Brady, yes, that Tom Brady was your delivery guy, would you tip him the same as any normal delivery guy? 46% say yes, 54% say no. I'm firmly in the yes camp here.
I'm actually shocked it's as high as it is on yes. I'm there. Yeah. I mean, between it being Tom Brady and the resentment that Tom Brady stirs up from anybody that isn't a Patriots fan, I'm kind of surprised it's that high.
I would say, hey, Tom, here's a tip. Wear a mask.
Okay. Especially, too. I'm also surprised because our viewership has a lot of Raider fans, and Raider fans are not going to be tipping Tom Brady. I can tell you that.
The Raider fans tip anybody? Darth Vader?
Not Tom Brady.
No, not Tom Brady.
No, not Tom Tuck Rule Brady. I guarantee they're not tipping in.
There's a strawberry.
I think that's understandable. I think that is fair.
Are Raiders fans good tippers? Do you think?
Yeah, I would think they are.
I would think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Raider fans strike me as a fan base that spend a lot of time in bars, in places where you may be tipping.
I'm going to put that
They
on.
strike.
Are
They
Raiders
actually
fans
strike me as
better? Are they better tippers than Rams fans?
There's only one way to find out. I will personally deliver after my incubation period. And then we'll see which fan base gives
Jordan,
me more
if you're
money.
going to do this, we certainly hope that it's for vsliquor.com. And you want to affiliate yourself with a company like that because it's the most convenient way to get alcohol delivered to someone's door. And if it's the first order, whoever types this out for you, and they put sports, you will be delivering them liquor that they get 15% off.
So that's
exciting.
no excuse to not tip me at that point.
That's right. No, because they should give you that 15%. Like your tip should be 15%.
I'll tell you what, Tucker will pull the wagon for that.
But I mean, that'd be really exciting. Like they get 15% off. They get their liquor delivered by you. I mean, that's a cool day. That's a very cool day or night.
By me, I don't know, but definitely. I mean, I'm pretty lame. I got to be honest with you guys. One of you guys asked me like, it was not really like, what are your hobbies? But it was like, oh, if you have other interests, we could talk about them. And I was like, my dog. And so.
But look at the stories and mileage we've gotten out of Tucker.
Yeah, there he is.
I know.
We can bleed a rock around here, Jordan. It's fine.
Does he count as a small business now? Can I pull a Tom Brady and apply for?
No, this is a small business. See, only 12 pounds.
Oh,
there's
Matilli.
All right, so the Cam Newton thing is actually a good seg into. Wait, you have to go in the middle. That's how we do this. Darn it! I got too cocky with the Tucker photos. There we go. So ESPN did a thing today where today or yesterday, the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, and then there's another section of also receiving votes and this and that. And Andy and I, you should know, hate lists. We hate debating lists. Like, the point of this exercise is not to debate whether or not Tom Brady should be 7th and Drew Brees should be 5th, or you should flip-flop. I don't care. The part that I thought was interesting from Rams' perspective is that Jared Goff is not on it. And not only is Jared Goff not on it, he's barely in the also receiving vote. So, like, he got one vote to be in the top 10 quarterbacks among, everybody in the league. So,
let me read off the list just to give people perspective. The top 10 is Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Drew Brees, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford. Then the also receiving votes in descending order: Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, Kyle Murray, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G, and then one vote each for Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Sam Darnold, and Jared Goff. So I guess bad day for Cam Newton. But
Cam, I wonder if Cam
maybe they did this before he got signed.
Well, and also too, I mean, Cam, I think, also feels like a wild card for a lot of people just because they haven't really seen him play in a while.
Yeah.
And Brian's probably correct. A lot of this polling may have been done before you even knew he was on a team. But there's a lot of folks ahead of Jared Goff.
Like Kirk Cousins got 2 votes and Jared Goff got 1. Ben Roethlisberger got 8 and Jared Goff got 1. And again, the point isn't to debate whether or not Jared Goff is the 17th best quarterback in the NFL or the 14th best quarterback or anything like that. But I thought the comment from the scout that they quoted on Goff: throws the ball really well, just never got the sense that other teams fear him. That's an interesting quote. And then here's the other part. 28.8, that's his cap hit this year, 34.3 next year, 32.2 the year after. So the Rams owe him a tremendous amount of money. They're going through a roster transition right now that's in part based on the fact that they owe him a tremendous amount of money. Is it problematic that he's apparently like the 18th best quarterback in the NFL? Can
we go back to this quote?
Yes.
Because
it's an NFL coordinator.
Did Tom Brady write that quote? Because apparently there's nothing to fear.
See what you did there. But that's not. If you're an NFL quarterback, you don't want to hear people say that.
No, and I don't think it's true. I mean, and no disrespect to the list or the whatever, but I just don't think that's true. I think that, what do you want him to do? Come out swinging a sword at you. Like, I mean, really, it's you fear Jared Goff because he is a part of a system and a unit that is not mutually exclusive to Jared Goff. You fear the Sean McVay system with him operating in it, with Robert Woods, with Cooper Kupp, formerly Todd Gurley, now Cam Akers, Van Jefferson, Higbee, you fear the fist. You don't fear the finger. And there are some quarterbacks who can have that, where they can just, and again, I covered one for the last 4 years where he's good for 5 to 7 games all by himself. But those guys are outliers. And a lot of times if they don't have a functional, cohesive system around them, then no, they're not people to be afraid of, as elite as they could be.
Okay, well, here, let me ask you this, though. Granted LA on the Periscope says Goff can't go off script. If the play breaks down, so does Goff. That could be an example. And this is sentiment that I've heard certainly a lot of Rams fans say before, but also, people watching Goff. I don't think Goff is a great improviser, if for no other reason than he's not particularly mobile. I don't think he's necessarily, afraid to stay in the pocket or anything like that. He's pretty tough. I think by and large.
Oh,
but
for sure.
I mean, he's not afraid. Right. He's not afraid of what's happening. He's immobile. So, those are the type of things that maybe people are talking about, that make him less fearful. Like a guy like Kyler Murray, who's still coming into his own, I actually thought played pretty well as a rookie. There's always going to be that threat. Or, if you put it on steroids, like Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, those guys are always going to keep you afraid just because there are so many different things they can do. A play is never over with them, but it might feel like a play is over with Goff in certain scenarios.
Yeah, it's a really good point, too. If you're kind of conceptualizing the idea of fearing a guy, or the coach speak is he holds defenses accountable, that kind of a thing. The thing, though, is that if you recognize, and this is where the Rams have troubleshot this exact problem this year. So it's sort of this internal recognition that, yes, he needs to improvise better, right? He needs to be more creative, and that creativity, the foundation of that improvisation is having more ownership and autonomy from day one with the offense. And that's why they brought in Kevin O'Connell as mostly a quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator. And, he's going to be doing a lot of things to give Jared more autonomy in the system so that then he's more comfortable improvising when needed. So that's one thing, right, that they hope works. The other thing is, if you have a guy like Jared Goff, who's not going to really truly be a running threat, or a guy who can extend the play.
His first year, it looked like he had never run before.
Yeah,
I don't even mean as a quarterback. I mean, literally, he had never run at any point in his life.
My 10-year-old, who's now 10, when he was 3 or 4, ran like somebody who was doing an impression of a person he saw running on television. That's how Jared Goff ran in real football. I remember
the first time I saw him scramble, I was like, has he ever run? Like in his life? Not with the ball, just period. Has he ever run?
I think that the thing that you do if you're a coach and you are recognizing that about your quarterback is that now you put guys around him who can create yards after a play, right? Because in that way, they are the ones extending the play. And what you're doing is getting the ball to them, and then they are creating those extra yards and extending the play in that regard. And in that way, like I said, the fist holds the defense accountable instead of just the one guy. And so with Cam Akers, obviously they did a lot of that with Todd Gurley early on. The Gurley stuff happens, and then now they don't have really someone who's able to do that. And now they're bringing in guys like Van Jefferson and like Cam Akers, and I think Darrell Henderson as well is a little underrated in this regard, who can create extra space after a catch, who can create extra yards after a play, who can be a safety valve in certain ways that can then extend a play in a way that the quarterback is unable to do. And so recognition of those flaws is, I think, this is a main storyline of what the Rams offseason is where's the flaw in the Death Star? And how are you going to patch it before the TIE fighters get there? Like it's just a really interesting troubleshooting season.
They blew up the Death Star twice. You don't want to be the Death Star. If the Rams are the Death Star, that's bad.
If it didn't have a flaw.
That's true. Right, but it did, true. As evidenced by the fact that they blew it up twice.
Sure, but if you fix it.
Right, better designed, better. Right. Like, look,
in the third movie, they get it right. They just haven't made that movie yet.
Death Star. Like the Death Star was never designed by an offensive genius, and Sean McVay is an offensive genius. So I feel like if he was the one designing the Death Star, fewer flaws, more difficult to figure out, keeps people on their toes, better looking. Like Sean McVay is certainly better hair, better looking than certainly the architect of the Death Star. I'm willing to go out on that limb.
Okay, but he didn't draft Jared Goff, so he didn't, quote unquote, conceive him. He wasn't the architect.
The guy who created the Death Star or Sean McVay?
Sean McVay. Like, he's not, he did. Where are you right now?
That was Jeff Fisher, who I also could buy as somebody who would create two flawed Death Stars.
Jeff Fisher's Death Star would be exceptionally good. He'd blow it up himself.
Jeff Fisher
would blow up his own Death
He'd be walking with a can of Coke, and the pull tab would accidentally fall down the...
He would be at the opening of the second Death Star. Jeff Fisher would be there giving everybody a pep talk, going like, "Look, guys, we're not here for the first Death Star blowing up bull bleep. We're not here for that."
If it's blow up your own Death Star or go for it on 4th and 2, he's blowing up his own Death Star. Like that's just the end of it. That's the way Jeff Fisher's Death Star is run.
The Jeff Fisher coached game against the Miami Dolphins the first year the Rams were back.
Yeah,
remains the single worst sporting event that I have ever seen. And I've seen a few. It was awful. Like the Rams, I think they were up like 10-0 or so, 10-3 or whatever it was, and like tried to take the air out of the ball and ended up losing to just a god awful Dolphins team. And then poor Sam Lagana, who's been on our show, the PA guy who's just trying to do his job, is trying to get this crowd riled up, and it's mostly Dolphins fans, and he's trying to get people to rise with your Rams, and nobody's like, it's like, no, I can't do it. So it's like, help out Sam. And it was the worst sporting event I've ever seen. And Jeff Fisher that was not a good time. So, and again, just a reminder, they blew up the Death Star twice. So,
to circle back, because we could tie a bow on this entire thought thread somehow, which is like a feat in itself, is like, really, Sean McVay is not the one who built the Death Star, Jared Goff being the Death Star. Like, he's not the one who built the Death Star. He's working with what he's got. So if he could fix the flaw before it implodes, that's what he's doing.
Monty _10 on the Periscope says it's the 7 and 9 Death Star.
That's right. It's not even a death. If Jeff Fisher builds, it's not even a Death Star. It's like a short hospital stay star. It's not,
a death space debris.
Yeah, it's not going to kill you, whatever it is. It's a nuisance. It's something. It's not a Death Star though. He doesn't build those. But no. I'm so confused by what it means if Jared Goff is the Death Star. Because then he's going to blow up, right? Is he the
Death Star or is the system the Death Star?
No, I'm saying if you have something, guys, really. I'm saying if you have something...
Look, you started it.
If you have something with flaws and you inherited that something and you see the flaws and you understand that they are fixable, then you fix those flaws to keep your Super Bowl window open, and that's what Sean McVay is doing.
Okay. I guess if that's what we're looking to fix, and the way you're laying this out, do you think that they have actually the pieces in place this year to make it work? Like in particular, with Gurley not being there, and Gurley last year, his usage and his role was the elephant in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that was creating very obvious tension throughout the whole year. You could feel it with Gurley. You could feel it with other guys when they would get asked about Gurley. It was obvious that heading into this year, they either needed to commit to giving him a bigger role or him leaving. And it turns out it's him leaving. Do you think that I guess that being gone, have you gotten any sense that just that situation being gone can help out one way or the other? Like just relieving that tension, and B, do they have the pieces to make up for his absence?
Yeah, and I don't even know if tension is sort of the way that I'd frame it either. I mean, I wasn't here, so in the moment, of course, like tension. But right now, it's inconsistency. If you can't establish consistency with one of your top personnel, then you can't have that permeates throughout the entire system. And especially with so much of what Sean McVay does, including setting up the pass and the play action, is predicated on what you can do in the run game, and then it's not consistent, and then your messaging is no longer consistent when it comes to Gurley, or between yourself and Gurley, and nothing is consistent, and so that sort of starts to crinkle away at all of the edges, right? So now, like you said, the fresh start, and that's a great point, because I do really think that Cam Akers is just a really bright young talent, and I really like Darrell Henderson, and I really was high on him when he was coming out for the draft. And
so were
I
they,
think that
actually.
And I think that if you can do a two-back system and you could sort of emulate some of the things that like the 2017 Saints, Kamara, Ingram, like if you're able to do some of those concepts while still keeping to your fundamentals that you do to set up the rest of your offense, which again is largely predicated on what they do in the run game, then you can absolutely have success. And it's like kind of a cleansing, like a little bit of a refreshing feeling, because now you have that consistency and rhythm and cadence. And that is so, so important. And then you also help the quarterback, because the quarterback is now having to improvise off of that rhythm and that cadence and being tasked with doing so more so than ever before. So now, having that sort of fresh start, I think is very, very promising. But again, I think it was just the lack of consistency on the field and off the field that was sort of crinkling away at the edges there. And it really sort of, it was like that bottom Jenga block that kind of tilts everything else, and it was interesting to watch from afar, and now I'm rambling again. So
it was interesting to watch from near too. But the other part of that is the offensive line. Before we get back to how good is Jared Goff, as we sort of you go through the components and the running game and the inconsistency and the play calling and all that, and then you get to the offensive line. The Rams choose not really to address that in the draft, which for reasons at least to me makes sense. When you get 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, you're just checking a box at that point. You're not finding somebody who's going to necessarily help your team. But they should have some consistency based on the end of last year coming back this year if those guys are good enough. So what's your confidence in the offensive line?
I think health is like the key here too, because so you heard like what I like to do around combine time is I like to get on the phone and try to talk to a lot of scouts off the record and see like, what do you think of this draft class at this position? What do you think at this position? Well, the Panthers also needed offensive linemen, and particularly interior offensive linemen. I think that's a place where the Rams had struggled in, obviously at right tackle as well. So pretty much almost every position, it's fine. So they said that the top tier talent of the offensive line class was stellar, right? And then one of the sharpest drop-offs they've ever seen through the late first, second, third, fourth, and then maybe you have some developmental guys who you can like kind of coach up over the next 2 or 3 years, swing tackles, guys who can sort of rotate at your center guard, be depth, maybe get the active jersey like 3 years down the road, right? So that's such a sharp drop-off that there is no point in wasting a draft resource in that regard. And you already know you're up against it with the cap. So really your lowest risk situation is, okay, my guys are coming back and they're healthy, and a couple of them played, dang near every position on the line. So we could try them somewhere and try to get some consistency. And we know that these guys are going to be healthy. And then also having Andrew back on the left side, as we talked about earlier, like left tackle, kind of important. And so, I think that
78 years old and he keeps going.
it's just amazing. You know what?
It's
The Panthers,
unbelievable.
I'll tell you that like this is kind of a fun story too. And when I finally get to see Andrew in person, I'll tell him like the Panthers should have been in the running during that first free agency period for him. And they didn't even call him. And instead they went after Matt Khalil, who barely played a snap for them, and they are still paying. He's been off their roster for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And they're
It's like
still
Bobby
paying
Bonilla.
him. Right.
What amazes me though with like Andrew Whitworth is the idea of, that is a physical position that you are playing at his age. Like, you really have to love playing football because I don't know Andrew Whitworth's financial situation, but I mean he doesn't strike me as somebody
I believe it's rich.
Right, but I mean, like, I don't know how he's taken care of his money, but Andrew Whitworth does not strike me as somebody who's been, like, secretly horribly irresponsible
Putting it
with
all
his
on
finances.
red.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd be shocked if, on an average Tuesday night, you go to the Commerce Casino and Andrew Whitworth's there, placing, like, $500 bets on blackjack. Like, it just doesn't seem like him. I could be wrong. But it doesn't seem to be his jam.
Hit me.
Yeah, exactly. Like
34. Hit me. 41. Hit me.
I'm making the assumption that Andrew Whitworth is comfortable at the very minimum.
Should we make that a poll question? Is Andrew Whitworth rich?
Is Andrew Whitworth secretly gambling addicted and broke? Yes or no?
Yeah. As the people who carry the Rams games, I'm going to go with no, we shouldn't do that.
No, I'm definitely not. Again, we're saying that's not the case. You got to want it. I mean, like, you have to love playing if you're him. Like, especially right now, like a team that, honestly speaking, I think they could be better than last year, but they are at best a dark horse to like get to the Super Bowl again. Like, a couple years ago coming back, you could understand that because they seemed like a legit Super Bowl team. But now it's just like, cliche as it sounds, this is like love of the game crap. Because I know if I were his age, I'd have tapped out a long time ago.
Yeah, it's so physical. In the division too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a marvel to me, what he's been able to do. And it reminds you some of the like grizzled greats in history and kind of like, they just kept going and kept going and kept going. And, it's
grizzled greats
always
in history.
To me, as a writer, it's like, go Devils. It's like jarring when you get on like a Zoom call with these guys and they're active in the league and they've got like streaks of gray. I remember covering Julius Peppers and interviewing him, like standing there, like looking straight up at him, the enormous person that he is. Yes, and you see streaks of silver in his beard. And you're like, oh my God, how is this guy doing this? Especially at an elite level. It's crazy
like
to me.
LeBron's pandemic beard has a lot of gray in it. Not quite Catino Mobley gray, but still pretty gray. But Whitworth, they are putting a lot on Whitworth being very good again, and he was good last year, but he wasn't Andrew Whitworth, top 2 or 3 left tackles in the NFL good, and that's if there's a little bit more decline there, again, that offensive line becomes a problem, and it almost doesn't matter how good Jared. Well, actually, I take it back. Then it matters more how good Jared Goff is, because he's always, and Andy, I know we've talked about this, like clean pockets, time to throw, looks great. Stuff starts to break down. Like that's kind of when you need your quarterback to do cool stuff, and he doesn't often do it. And that's my big concern with Goff is like he's good when things are good, but when things aren't ideal, which is almost always in the NFL, it's not that he's bad. He's just sort of ordinary and not a $34 million quarterback.
Mm-hmm. The thing that's so interesting to me about that contract is what it says about the rest of the organization, the staff. To me, it says like, sorry, I'm like shaking. My computer screen is shaking. Earthquake, my first one. No, I'm just kidding. It does happen here,
No, it's true.
Oh, there you will. You'll get one soon enough. Be patient.
So it's interesting to me because I think Jared Goff is very much a guy who, like most quarterbacks, a wide percentage of the mean of quarterbacks in the league are going to be more successful, again, when they have a great system around them, when they have a clean pocket, when, all of these things that we like to see, but, are hit or miss on most teams. So, it says to me that they are not just investing in the fact that he can operate the system as needed, and continue to improve, which I think is really key for him this year, and to, like we said, improvise and get better at doing that, and being organic and being more creative with his own decisions. But also, they are this confident in the fact that they could build around him because they know who he is by this point. They know what next step they want him to get to. And that is how confident all of this money, to me, doesn't just say that about Jared. It says, I know that I'm going to be the head coach here for a very long time.
Yes.
And I know that I'm going to, take care of business, to put it politely. Like, I know that I'm going to put people around him that can help him be successful. I believe that much in myself, my staff, my guys all around me, and my ability to identify and coach talent. And so that was a little bit more of a statement to me of what Sean McVay, Les Snead, the people who are very active in the decision-making process, that's more of a statement to me of what they believe they can build around him, more so necessarily because they know who he is. They spent thousands of hours scouting the guy, okay? They know who he is. They've spent thousands of hours teaching him, talking to him, in the film room with him, in quarterback room with him. They know who he is at this point. They also know that very half step up that they would like him to take this year in terms of consistency and improvisation, but they know who he is. So you're also, with that money, you're saying, I believe that I have the staff, that I'm the guy who can make this guy successful. And that's what I think this contract says.
Really quick, Andrew Whitworth has made almost $90 million in his career, according to Spotric. And they're pretty good with that stuff. And that's not even counting this coming season. So, again, he wants better man than I am.
Well, I don't know what it means that I saw him playing at the $5 million per hand Pygao table the other day.
Sources far from the situation.
That's a poll question. Does Andrew Whitworth know how to play Pygao?
I only know one guy who does.
Same guy. All right, just before we go, let's update the poll questions. Are the better tippers Raiders fans or Rams fans? 30% for the Raiders, 70% for the Rams. GTV says Raider fans got no money.
I think that's unfair to the Raider fans.
I happen to agree.
I will bag on Raider fans any chance I get, but I actually think this is unfair to them.
And the other one, poll, if you ordered from a delivery service and it turned out Tom Brady, yes, that Tom Brady was your delivery guy, would you tip him the same as any normal delivery guy? 46. This is holding steady with almost 300 votes. 46% say yes, they would, and 54% say no.
I'm stunned it's that high. I really am.
I also think you 54% are cheap bastards. A delivery guy is a delivery guy. You should tip them for the service. There's a Raider fan who put that on there. He says, that's Nick Silverman showing the tuck rule thing. He already got his tip. So
exactly.
Right. Welcome to Los Angeles, Jourdan.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here, guys. I really am.
Do you mean literally in Los Angeles or like on this program? This is very important.
Oh, I thought that was clear. Deal. Definitely not here, like in Los Angeles. I thought that was clear. I'm sorry. That's my fault. That's my fault.
You should be more specific.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, welcome to you and Tucker.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to more of these. And that is Tucker. He is the best. He is shedding his winter coat that he will never need again. So I need a Tom Brady robot vacuum.
Look at you bringing it full circle. That was well done.
There you go. Pros
right.
pro.
That's it.
Tomorrow we got
night
Harrison
is,
Fagan from Silver Screen and Roll.
and then Friday we're hoping for Flea.
We're hoping for Flea. Fingers crossed for Flea on Friday. We
right,
can't promise, but we're hoping.
That's the idea. All right, we'll see everybody next time.